Whoa. Trying to test the audio here. 2 seconds. Let's see. Skip that. Okay, cool. Already see there's a couple people in here. It's been a while since I did one of these. If you want to call them live streams or podcasts, this is also going to be on my Spotify. I should put the link in the description. It's going to be after this. I want to make this into a podcast where you guys can listen to this on Spotify. Let me see if let me know if the audio is good. If the audio is good, then we can go. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm gonna be, going over a couple questions that I've gotten over the past couple months. It's been a while since I did a live stream or a podcast. I used to do this answering a lot of questions that you guys had. That I usually don't respond to to comments because I don't have the time. I respond to some of the comments, but when I have the time to do so, but most of the time I do not have the time. So I like to do like live streams where I can kind of like go over these questions, and and really help you guys with the questions that you might have. I've had quite a bit of experience with working in finance and business and college as well. I did my 4 years in college, and yeah, and I know a lot of you guys are in college or about to graduate college or about to go to college, and I think a lot of people get a lot of you know benefits from this from someone who's actually done it. Then there's a lot of people that like to talk on the internet that they've never done it before. But yeah, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I want to cover some of the comments that I've gotten in the past couple of months, maybe 2 months or 3 months in the past. Now the first one is I want to put these on the screen here. I'm using StreamYard. I've never used this before. I'm gonna put the link in here actually in the description if you guys want to join a video chat, and it's gonna be featured on the channel. So if you get in this, it's gonna be on the channel. Let me go ahead and put the link in here. If you click on this, you're going to be on the video chat if you want to join here and ask some questions and stuff like that. Let me go ahead and pin this. Okay, cool. If you want to join, you can click that and you're going to be able to join. Actually, let me try to. Okay, how about that? Like that. I think that looks better. That I'll pin that on the top. All right. So before I even get into the comments I've gotten in the past, I'm going to answer something that just came in the chat. I'm going to put this on the screen here. So this is from Holly. It says, "What should you do if you are still in high school and you want to prepare for a finance major?" So I'll tell you one of the things that I did when I was in high school. When I was in high school, it was back in 2015, 14, 15. My high school started in an accounting program at school where you could take accounting one and two. It was just basic accounting. So if your school offers anything that's related to business, right, I'm going to give you the top things you need to learn if you're going to be a finance major. Accounting, finance, if your school offers any subject that is related to finance, I'm talking about maybe something that's labeled finance or something that's labeled money or something that's labeled I don't know what they have these days, but anything that's related to money, that's going to help you in finance. And then on the other hand, if you have anything in programming, I know my old school was teaching how to program in Java, my old high school, and that you can translate to Python programming, which is used in finance. Um, but yeah, so if you're in high school, I definitely recommend taking as many classes as you can that are related to business, because those are going to help you so much when it comes to finance. Um, and also, if you have a bunch of other like extracurriculars, like we can talk about I was in a business club in high school where we just it wasn't much of there wasn't much going on over there because we did not have the experience to like talk about business or talk about finance or accounting. But it's something that's going to count for when you do those college applications. I know there's a section where you put the clubs that you're involved in if you're going to a public university, but that's really going to help you when it comes to that. um, and then the other one is going to be what skills should you master before you go to university? So aside from the technical skills, right? So I'm gonna give you the technical skills the only technical skills that you need if you're gonna go into finance. It's gonna be Microsoft Excel in the ability to learn new software, right? In finance, you might be. I've been working consulting for the past year or so, and I'm about to leave consulting now. I'm going back to industry, but if you're in consulting, the biggest skill that you can have is to be able to learn, right? So I can go to a client today. The client is like, well, I don't use Microsoft Excel, but I do use this software, and I want to train you on it in 2 days, and you got to be able to help me fix my problem. So one of the biggest skills that you can learn is the ability to learn as fast as you can, like to learn technical skills, right? So technical skills are like kind of just like you need to use this software, and you need to learn how to use it. And by the time you're done with the training, which might be a day or two, maybe 3 days, or maybe a week, you got to be a professional at that point or be competent enough to make decisions and make things happen. So the biggest skill you can learn in high school if you want to be in finance, especially consulting or any company really, because all companies use different types of programs and softwares in order to do a bunch of things. You're going to go to a company that uses Salesforce, right? You're going to go to a company that uses a bunch of other softwares like credit manager, this software and this that software. Your goal should be to your skill should be to be able to learn how to learn those programs or softwares a lot faster than the average person, right? Because that's what's gonna separate you from a bunch of people. Um, but then on the other hand, you need to learn Microsoft Excel. That is gonna be your core foundation. The sooner you learn Microsoft Excel, the better you're gonna be at, right? Because you can look at a company that uses Salesforce, right? Let's say a company uses Salesforce in order to gather customer data. And then they're like, well, want to figure out how many customers in this region are purchasing this product and what is their order size? Are they ordering anything above $30, above $50, or $100, right? Now, what you have to do is export the data out of Salesforce and put it into Microsoft Excel. That is where you're gonna have the ability to reformat the data. Just really make sense of the data and customize it how you want it to look. So I would say that the biggest skill in if you're in high school, you want to go into finance or maybe finance and accounting, anything related to business really, but mostly finance is going to be to learn how to learn fast, right? The technical skills, which is software, because that is what's running finance right now. It's a lot of software. You're not going to go into a finance job and do the formulas that they teach you in college. You're not gonna do all those formulas in person. There's software that does it for you, and if it does it for you, your job is to interpret like what it's saying is to be able to break down the data that you're given by the software. So you need to learn the software. So if you're able to learn as fast as you can, and I think it's pretty easy to really learn how to use these softwares that are used in finance. We can even look at accounting, look at QuickBooks, right? QuickBooks. I think I have a tutorial on my YouTube channel here where I taught you how to use QuickBooks from start to finish in less than an hour, right? Pretty easy. So you got to be able to learn those technical skills. And then the second thing is going to be Microsoft Excel. That is the foundation. That is like the driving force in finance, right? You can go into investment banking, you can go to private equity, you can go to corporate finance, you can go to nonprofit finance, you can go to financial planning and analysis. They all use Microsoft Excel. So the better you are at Microsoft Excel, the better you're gonna be at your job. The more I just posted like a little meme on my YouTube here where someone was shaking the hand of the employer. They were saying, "Oh, do you have Microsoft Excel skills?" He was like, "Yes." And then your things you learned in college, the finance little subjects you learned in college, they're like, "Oh, we don't care about those. We just want to know if you know how to use Microsoft Excel." because not a lot of people know how to use Microsoft Excel. So if you do have that skill, that is a skill that is in demand. If you go to the finance side of things or accounting side of things, that's going to be the skill that's going to separate you from a lot of people that say that they know how to do this, how to do that, how to do that. You know how to use Microsoft Excel, and you can prove it, right? Because you're gonna get on the job eventually, and you gotta be able to to show that you know how to use Microsoft Excel. Um, so another one here is gonna be do target schools guarantee an internship or a job? So I didn't go to a target school, but I do have a few friends that went to a target school. And one of the things that target schools do really well is going to be the name recognition, right? So if you go to target school, of course, if you have a resume and your first thing is like, oh, I went to Harvard or something like that, whatever school you went to, that's a target school. You have the name recognition, right? So your application is going to stand out. So it's more like the name recognition. But I think the most important thing that a lot of people don't realize about target schools is going to be um, the networking opportunities that you get, right? So you're gonna have the top companies, the big four consulting firms. You can go to the big three consulting firms. They're gonna go recruit at the target schools, right? And so you don't have to go out there and try to network with these companies. They're coming to you because you're at a target school, right? They're targeting that school. So that's one of the biggest advantages when it comes to target schools. And then at the same time, internships, yes, it's going to be the same thing as well. You are going to be more they're going to favor you more if you go to a target school. If you go into those high level finance internships, right? I'm talking about investment banking internships, right? Of course there's going to be people that are not at target schools that are able to go to able to be at those high level internships. But for the most part, if you're at a target school, you do have an advantage of name recognition, and you got the ability to network because those companies do come to campus in order to recruit you to get an internship or to get a job. Now, the other thing is going to be networking with coworkers. I mean, classmates or students that go to the same school, right? Most of the students that go to target schools, they go to find the companies. Look at the Facebook founder. Look at some of the people that dropped out of those target schools, right? Now you're gonna be around people that have the ability to go work at these huge companies and have really good positions where they're able to kind of like recommend other people as well. But yeah, so those are some of the advantages when it comes to target schools. But in general, I would say that they're also expensive unless you have a scholarship, to go to a target school. I wouldn't really recommend paying out of pocket to go to target school because you can still be in finance, be in high level finance without going to a target school. I went to a school that's on a target school, but I work in consulting now with people that went to target schools. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be a little longer of a route, but it's still worth it. But if you do go to a target school, you are gonna have advantages, in terms of like networking, in terms of having companies come look for you instead of you going out there to look for them to be recruited. They're gonna come to you to recruit you. Um, other one is do you need to master PowerPoint? Yes, if you're gonna go into consulting, this is what I'll tell you, right? Because not everybody's gonna go into consulting. A lot of people go into investment banking, corporate finance, private equity. A lot of people go into that. But if you happen to go into consulting, you need to know how to use PowerPoint because it's all about if you're entry level consultant, right? Business consulting. Management, I work in risk management consulting. If you're in management consulting, same thing. You prepare PowerPoints. That's pretty much what you're doing as an entry level consultant. If you're entry level, they make you do the PowerPoints. Can you clean this up? Can you make this look this way? Can you do this? Please fix this. Please fix that. Can you put this data in here? Can you do this? That's gonna be a lot of the things that you do, you have to know how to use PowerPoint if you're going to be in consulting. But any other finance position, such as corporate finance, maybe nonprofit finance, which is pretty much the same thing as corporate finance, wealth management, private equity, like you don't need to know PowerPoint. But only if you're gonna go into consulting, that's what that's gonna be the reason why you need to know how to use PowerPoint, because it's all about pitching things to clients, right? You have the senior analysts, you have the senior consultants, and you have the managers and you have the directors, managing directors. They all want to look at the PowerPoint that you presented, and they need to be able to present it to the client. So they're gonna make you fix it so many times. Can you make it look this way? They don't even know how to do it technically, but they're just asking you because they expect you to know how to, make it look how they want it to look. So yes, PowerPoint, you need to know that for consulting. But for anything else, you don't really need to know it extensively. I would recommend knowing how to use Excel. Even for consulting, I wouldn't really recommend you having strong Excel skills, but you gotta have strong PowerPoint skills. But for everything else other than business consulting or management consulting, risk management, anything in the big four consulting or big three consulting, you need to know how to use PowerPoint more than Excel. But anything outside of consulting, you need to learn how to use Microsoft Excel more than Word, more than PowerPoint, more than anything else. Um, Look at the next one here. What are the cons and or disadvantages of target schools? My biggest one is going to be, expensive. They're expensive as well. Unless you get a scholarship, unless you're really smart in high school, where you get a full ride scholarship, they're expensive as well. I didn't go to one, so I wouldn't know all the cons or the disadvantages. But I think they're just expensive, and for the most part, you get the same education. You are going to get the same education that you'd get from a 4-year regular state university. You're going to get the same education, right? Think about this. Professors that teach at a state university, right? Like where I went, UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio. The same professor can go teach at Harvard University or at MIT. They go teach over there. The same professor. Are they going to provide different types of education if they're teaching at a state university, or compared to when they're teaching at an Ivy League or Target University? No, it's going to be the same education. So there's really no disadvantage when it comes to the education itself. The only disadvantage is the name recognition, as well as the networking opportunities that you have. Right, if you're at a state university, you might have to reach out to those recruiters. Right, you have to like suck up to them and be like, hey, here's my resume. Can we have a coffee on this, in chat? What do I need to change about this? But then if you're at a Target University, they're pretty much begging you to go work for them. So, so I think the only disadvantage is really just the networking opportunities that you have and the name recognition of your university. Um, See here. Thanks so much for your help. See what else do we have? Another one. How did you know finance was the right path for you? I'll tell you a story, guys. Here, when I was in high school, that was about in 2014. In 2014, I was a sophomore in high school, I believe. Sophomore, yeah, in high school. And I was really good at computer programming in high school. I was fluent in Java, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I was just learning back to back. I had just gotten my first computer, so I was learning on YouTube, practicing. I remember I was programming on Notepad plus plus. I was building websites. I was building programs in Java, a calculator, a bunch of things in Java. I was so talented in that. And then my school decided to bring programming into this, school curriculum, and it was, they chose like 10 students that signed up for that class, I believe. Well, 10 students signed up for that class, the computer programming class, and they were teaching Java. So I was actually teaching the high school teacher how to teach the class because I was so fluent in Java. Now, after that, the teacher recommended, he had some connections with a startup company that was a programming company. They were building a bunch of software for, a bunch of huge corporations. And he got me an internship. Sophomore year in high school, I got an internship at a startup company programming. Now I was at that company. I was helping them build some software for an unspecified company, which I don't know if I'm allowed to, so I'm not gonna mention it on here. So I was helping them with that. I wasn't doing much work. Obviously, there were developers that were older than me, like 30 years old, 40 years old. But then they were asking for my insights, teaching me a bunch of other things. And then the CEO of the company, at the day that they finished building the software, he asked me, he was like, "Hey, Nash, I know you like programming." He even bought me a website domain to host my website when I was interning. I had a website where I was teaching people how to program at the time, and he purchased the entire domain for me for an entire year. And then when they finished building that software, he was like, "I know you love programming and coding and things like that, but if you thought about business," I was like, "Well, I don't know what business is." And he was like, "Okay, we just finished building this. I want you to sit in the meeting where we're gonna negotiate the price for this software with this company." So he brought me into the meeting, and then we're sitting there, and then they started negotiating. Now I couldn't say a word. I was just there listening, like, and then they ended up selling the software for $350 million. And then after that, he was like, "This is how business is done." So from that point, that's when I said I want to go into finance because I want to understand money. Because I didn't real like I was my mind could not fathom the idea that a software that took 3 months to build could be sold for $350 million. I was like, there's no way. How does money really work? Right. And I started researching that, and they were like, "Oh, financing options, equity, this and that." I was like, this is related to finance. That's why I went to college and I got into finance. Um, but yeah, that's how I ended up in finance because I wanted to understand money and then understand business as a whole based off of that one meeting that I had during my internship during my sophomore year in high school. Um, See another one here. "Hey Nash, I'm a freshman at UAB and I'm so confused on choosing accounting or finance degree. Will a finance degree have as many job opportunities as an accounting degree?" So this is a really good question that a lot of people do ask. Um, I will say that I'm not really biased because I started off as an accounting major when I was in college. Right, I really loved accounting. I took accounting one. I was like, "This is fun. I love it." Right, and then I took accounting two, and then I did an internship in accounting, and I was like, "I don't like this." And then I switched over to finance. So if you're gonna compare the two, right, I'll give you a really, really good, solid comparison between the two. The first one is uh accounting is like kind of like the foundation of finance, right? So accounting looks into the past. So if you've taken an accounting class, you go into the financial statements, right? Let's say we're looking at one of the financial statements. You have to use data that is in the past, right? If you do trying to do like a projection of the revenue or like profits or whatever expenses, you build that upon like the data that was stored in the past. You might go back 3 years in the past, be like, okay, 3 years ago we spent this year, this year, this year. Now we can use this data to to kind of like or like well that's actually going into finance, but accounting is using data that was gathered, right? So you have let me give you a better example. You have bookkeepers that keep the records of the transaction records, right? So let's say you go to you have a company card, like business card. You swipe it, you spend money. The records of that are going to be kept by a bookkeeper, right? When it comes for the time to create the financial statement, they use those records. Those are facts. You spent the money, right? Now, this is your profit at the end, or your net income at the end of the day because you spend this much money. It is based on the past. What you did in the past shows up in accounting, right? Now, finance looks into the future, right? So finance uses accounting data in order to project what's going to happen in the future. So we can go into uh, um, the stock market, right? You can look into if you see a lot of projections of like, oh, this is a targeted EPS. People that try to project, like, oh, this stock is overvalued or undervalued. They're using accounting data in order to predict the future or in order to make assumptions, right? If you ever see some stocks that are overvalued, right? using accounting data in order to say, okay, based on the accounting data, this means that this stock is overvalued, undervalued. You go into corporate finance, you do projections for revenue and things like that. That is when you go back to the example that I was trying to give earlier, where you look into the accounting data for the past maybe 3, 5 years, 10 years. Okay, based on these past 10 years, we've brought in $10 million in revenue, 10 to 15. We can use this data to project the revenue for the next year, next 2 years. So if you bring it down to which one is better, finance or accounting? For me, I would say finance, because you can work in any industry. I've worked as a staff accountant with my finance degree. I've worked as a financial analyst. I've gone to consulting and risk management. As a if you're just looking for career opportunities, how you can branch off of you know onto different branches, I would say finance. But accounting kind of like limits you, really, because as an accountant, you're not going to be able to fully understand finance as a whole, because you just understand the accounting principles, right? Like what it is to do a ledger, things like that. Now, you're not going to be able to understand finance because you don't have to learn finance in order to be good at accounting. You might have to learn a little bit, but in order to be really good at finance, you have to be really good at accounting or understand the basic, just the basic, right? So, accounting for me, it might be different for other people, but for me, I feel like it limits you in terms of how much you know about business in general, right? But when you go to finance, you have to understand all of basic accounting in order to be good at finance. So when it comes to career opportunities, I think both are good. People that have finance accounting degrees can work in finance. They can work in high finance as well. People that have finance degrees can work in accounting, but if you're aiming for, if you want to get a CPA eventually, I would definitely recommend getting an accounting degree. But if you just want to work in business in general with your bachelor's degree, I recommend going into finance. But if you love accounting that much, I would say you just go. There's really no difference. They're interchangeable. But the only difference is people in finance are required to understand accounting, basic accounting. That means accounting 1 and 2, like really understand it. But if you work in accounting, you don't really have to understand finance to that extent. Um, let's see here. This one here, bro. I just graduated in June from university SJSU with a finance degree. Still can't get a job. Any advice? So I think I made a video on this in the past, and one of the things I mentioned is that people that graduate from college, they have like this set of companies, right? You say you're looking at the top. I want to go to the big four consulting. I want to go to JP Morgan. I want to go to people try to aim for companies that are too competitive, right? So I'll give you a solid example for myself. I graduated with a 2.6 GPA. Almost didn't graduate, right? But I've made it to be really successful in finance for my age, only because I didn't try to apply to those jobs that are too competitive. So one of the things that I recommend for people that just graduated and they're applying to jobs, they still don't have a job, you got to realize that every company on the planet that is successful, that makes some kind of money, they have a finance department that helps them allocate funds, that helps them, find funding, whether it's equity or debt. They have a finance department, and that finance department needs people, right? So if you're just looking at financial services companies like a bank, or you're looking at insurance companies, or you're looking at companies that are just in the financial services industry, that's the wrong way to look at it. You gotta look everywhere. You can go work at a construction company as a financial analyst. You can go work at a waste management company as a financial analyst and make really good money. You can go work at Disney as a financial analyst. So you just really need to expand your search, your scope of search, right? Because what I've seen with a lot of people that I talk to, I do have one-on-ones. I have a link under this live stream if you guys want to, if anyone wants to do a one-on-one. But most of the people that I talk to that cannot find jobs is because they're looking into one industry, just one industry. Like, oh, I want to work for banks, so I'm only applying to banks. Like it's your first job. All you have to do once you graduate from college is gonna be to to get in the door. You need to get in the door. Once you get in the door, do 2 years of work experience. Once you do that, you can go anywhere you want in finance. Go anywhere. That's what I did. I went into being a financial analyst at a mid-sized firm. Remember, I graduated with a 2.6 GPA. Mid-sized firm, they didn't even ask for my GPA. They just asked for my college degree. I was like, "This is my college degree," and I did really well over there. I became a supervisor. I was kind of like manager level in less than 2 years. After 2 years, I went into business consulting at one of the big four consulting firms. Right. So just do your 2 years. It does not matter where you are. Do your 2 years and then transfer into whatever your dream job is, right? So the problem is a lot of people want to get their dream job right out of college. Guess what? It is very competitive, very, very competitive, especially if you have dreams like you want to go into investment banking, you want to go into consulting, you want to go into all these, like high level finance jobs. That's going to be hard to get into. Why not make it easy on yourself and go work at a mid-sized firm or a company that does not have that many applications coming in? Do your 2 years of real life work experience and then transfer into wherever you want to go. I did that 2 years at a mid-sized firm. I went into Big Four consulting. But yeah, that's what I recommend. If you're not finding jobs, for the most part, is because your scope of search is just really narrow. You're looking at one industry. Look at all industries. Like literally, I think I did a video on like some of the industries that you can work in finance. But I'll definitely recommend increasing your scope of search, is that is what's going to give you the opportunities. Apply to the waste management company, to the city, whatever city you live in. Trust me, they have a finance department that's looking for people, right? Most people just want to go to the private sector. Go to the public sector, which is your city that you work in, or the government, federal government, right? Those are opportunities that a lot of people don't really look at. um, but yeah, so let's go to the next one here. What's up, Nash? What's the likelihood of getting a job in the second semester as a first year finance student? So that's definitely gonna be difficult if you're gonna be getting a job. I don't know if you mean internship or job, because a job would assume full time, and if you're a student, you're not gonna be able to work full time. But I'm assuming that you mean internship. So it's gonna be really hard if you're aiming for those internship programs, right? So when I say internship programs, I'm talking about if you go to the JP Morgan website, they have a section for students, and then they have internship programs. They have a start date and an end date, right? Those are really hard to get into as a first year finance student. They usually require you to be a sophomore, junior, sometimes, right? Sophomore, junior. That's what they usually require you to be. Now, if you are a freshman or sophomore and they require juniors, it's gonna be kind of hard. But if you've already had it, right? Let's say you were a sophomore, you had an internship at JP Morgan, and then they want to bring you back. They gotta want to bring you back to begin with in order for you to to have a chance to go back. And how do you do that? I made a video on this. If you go on my channel, you're gonna see that video, how to turn your internship into a full-time offer, right? Or an invite to come back next year. You don't even have to invite, you don't even have to apply for it to come back. So you just got to do a really good job. A good job is not just about doing the work that you're told to do. It's about networking, knowing the right people. You have to network with the decision makers. One of the things that I say in that video was stop eating lunch in your car, right? I know I did this when I was interning. Like these are mistakes that I've made in the past. I used to, bring my lunch, put it in the fridge. It's lunchtime. There's a bunch of people, managers, directors, managing directors, partners, warming up their lunch. I'm just standing there quiet. I get my lunch, I put it in the microwave. It's done. I take my lunch and I go to my car and I eat the lunch in my car, right? But in the meantime, everyone is sitting in the break room. They're talking, or they're introducing themselves to the managing director. They're just networking. So that's one of the points that I make in the video. It's not about the work that you do as an intern. Of course, Your job is gonna be to do what you're told to do. But then you gotta realize that no one is gonna expect you to be an expert in what you are interning for. You're there to learn, right? So don't try to be a know-it-all. That's one thing. And two, network, talk to people, introduce yourself to people. You're gonna be surprised how many people um, are gonna be interested in your story, especially if you're an intern. One of the best tips I could give you if you're an intern, you run to someone in the hallway, right? Good morning, good morning. I've usually they'll say, I've never seen you before, or something like that. Are you new? It's like, oh yeah, I'm an intern. I'm really new here. They're gonna want to talk to you because you're new. They're gonna want to help you. Ask questions. Ask where the water is or something like that, just to spark that conversation. Ask where they went to college, just to spark that conversation. That's how you network with people. Just don't try to be a know-it-all. So if you want to be invited back, what are the chances? Usually, right? At the end of that video that I made, when it comes to turning your internship into a full-time offer or an invite to intern again, it's gonna be, if people already like you and the person that's supervising you likes you, for the most part, they're gonna be like, eh, would you like to come back next year? Sometimes they're not gonna say that. Sometimes you have to ask. I did that one time. This was my second internship, which I felt like I didn't do really well on. I wasn't trying to network. That's the one I was going to eat lunch in my car. I was just doing what I was told and going home. I wasn't really talking to anyone. At the last day of the internship, I was under the VP of finance for the US division of the entire company. And I asked him, I said, uh, I would like to return, to intern next year. If there's any chance of me to do that. And he told me, he said, yeah, I don't think we have any opportunities next year. Guess what I saw next year? There were applications for the same internship, right? It's because I did not do a good job to network or to provide enough value in order for them to invite me back. But yeah, let's see. Oh, next one is how hard, this one here. How hard will it be to get an MBA while having a job or internship? I think it's pretty easy for most people, because I'll give you a solid example here. So I don't have an MBA and I don't think I'm gonna get one ever. Because I'm already good in finance now. So I don't think, maybe in the future I'll change my mind. But so a lot of people that get MBAs, right? One thing I definitely tell people not to do when it comes to getting an MBA is going from undergrad and you don't go to work at all. You just go to your MBA. Please don't do that. Go get some work experience. Do you really want that MBA, or do you want to do something else? What do you want to focus on when you do an MBA? Just don't go straight into an MBA. So is it gonna be? What's the question again? Let me see here. Will MBA guarantee? How hard will it be to get an MBA while having a job or internship? So most people get their MBA when they actually have a job, right? Sometimes it's like night classes. Of course, it's gonna be hard, relatively hard in terms of like maybe you're at work for 8 hours a day, 8 to 9 hours a day, and do your MBA program. But one tip I'll give you is go for a company that is gonna allow you to do that. That incentivizes you to do that. Most companies will pay for your MBA or part of it, or they'll reimburse you for it, part of it, or they'll sponsor the MBA. But sometimes you have to sign. Maybe you're gonna work for them 2 years after you get your MBA. You have to work for them 2 years or maybe 5 years. Just depends on the company. If you want to get your MBA, is do your undergrad, right, in finance, accounting, management, whatever you're doing on, and go to the workforce. Take 2 years to explore the different branches in business. Try a finance job, financial analyst, entry level, staff accountant, entry level accounting, maybe business management, operations, all these different things, and find something that you really like doing and you can focus out on your MBA. But just don't go straight into your MBA. It's gonna be hard, obviously, because most people that I know, that I work with some people that are getting their MBAs right now, right? It's gonna obviously gonna guarantee you more money for the most part. You get a bigger promotion, maybe you're more qualified to, get that promotion over someone who only has their bachelor's degree. But at the same time, it's gonna be hard because you gotta take night classes, right? You got to be able to feed yourself. You also got to be able to, if you have a family, feed your family. So you do have to work. Most people that take MBAs, they're already in the workforce. They're like, okay, this is my job here. I'm an analyst. I just got promoted to senior analyst. My next promotion is going to be manager. And then in order to get to manager, maybe I need to get my MBA, so my promotion is guaranteed. So they go get their MBA while they're in senior analyst. But yeah, so I definitely recommend going into the workforce once you get your undergrad or a bachelor's degree, and finding a company that's going to incentivize you in order to get that MBA, right? Because sometimes I've seen a lot of MBAs that they get their MBAs and then they come into the office and they're underneath me who has a bachelor's degree, right? It's because they don't have any real world experience. They don't have that. They only have school, university experience with their classes. They don't understand how things work out here. So they're not gonna make that person a manager. You have to climb through the ranks. You got to realize that most companies would rather promote from within than from outside. So they're not just gonna bring someone straight from school because they have an MBA, make them manager. It's gonna be like, no. So most people go to work, they find a company that they really, really love working for, that they're gonna work for. They say, this company, I would love to be in the decision maker position, VP position, maybe CEO or COO, CFO. So I'm gonna go get an MBA in order to advance my position a lot faster within this company. Let's see. Can you go far in finance just a bachelor? Yes, I will give you that. Yes, you can go very far with a bachelor's degree. I would tell you that for the company that I'm going for, I'm leaving consulting pretty soon and I'm going into industry. The person that runs the company only has a high school degree, and this is a huge company. But yeah, so you can really go far in finance with a bachelor's degree. It's most people in finance right now. Not everybody got an MBA in finance. They don't, right? So most people either get an MBA or they realize that they want to do accounting, so they get their CPA, or they realize that they love finance so much they get their CFA, which is equivalent to MBA. Not truly equivalent, but by industry standards, it's equivalent. Someone might have a bachelor's degree and a CFA certification, equivalent to a master's degree, accounting degree, and a CF in what is it, CFA or CPA certification, equivalent, or maybe sometimes more valuable than a master's degree, right? So not everyone is an MBA. I was able to make it to management level without an MBA, but if I'm gonna pursue an MBA, it's gonna be for me trying to pursue being maybe at a C level position, right? Being a CEO, CFO, COO position, then yes, I might try to do that. But you have to, before you get that MBA, you have to find a company that's worth getting that MBA for. Because most of the time, people get MBAs and they go start at an analyst level position. It's like, like what is it's gotta be something that's gonna push you into that promotion, right? Because think about it, in a company, let's say there's one manager position open and there's five of y'all are undergrads and you're the only one with an MBA. You're gonna be favorable to a certain extent because you have an MBA degree, right? Or you went and got your MBA degree before that promotion cycle came in. So I wouldn't recommend just getting it like for no reason. You gotta get it for a reason, right? Your reason is to be promoted within this company that you've built in. You've built a lot of experience within this company. You've been here for 3 years. You know that you're aiming for the manager position. Okay, I'm gonna get my MBA now. Maybe the company might. If you work for a good company, they usually, you know, give you some kind of like tuition reimbursement. It might not be the full tuition. It might be like, maybe part of the tuition, maybe a certain percentage. But yeah, it's really easy to make it in finance, with make a lot of money. If you've seen a lot of investment bankers, private equity bankers that graduate from college and make $100,000 a year, easy, without a master's degree. They only have their bachelor's. They just graduated from college with a bachelor's degree. So it's super easy to really make it in finance without a master's degree. But if you want to aim for those C-level position, CEO, CFO, whatever, VP, this and that, you might need an MBA to convince people a little more. Um, so next one here is thanks, Nasha. I appreciate it. Let's see here. I'm in grade 11. Should I start mastering Excel and PowerPoint and finance and accounting formulas? Yes, even though I would tell you that you gotta enjoy 11th grade and 12th grade, enjoy that. But at the same time, if you already know what you want to do, really, that was me when I was in high school. I knew exactly what I wanted to do because my sophomore year, I made it a goal. So I'm going to go into finance and accounting. I wasn't sure it was finance going to be accounting, but I knew it was going to be one of those two. So I focused on that. I took accounting classes in high school because they offered those at my school. They were new. I took a finance class in high school. I think it was like something to do with like banking or something like that because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So if you know that that is what you want to do, finance and accounting, take as many classes as you can. And also, Excel is really, really important. It's not going away anytime soon. Microsoft Excel is like the pillar of finance and accounting. We all use Excel. We can use different softwares like Salesforce, but we export the data to Excel and we make it make sense in Microsoft Excel. So it's really important to understand Microsoft Excel. And PowerPoint, it's not that important, but if you're going to go into consulting, like Big Three consulting or Big Four consulting, yes, PowerPoint, if you're an entry level analyst, they're going to make you do all the PowerPoints. And you're going to have partners, managing directors, senior analysts tell you, I want it to look like this. They don't know how to do it, but they want you to figure out how to do it. So the more you know, the better you're going to be. Uh, but yeah, definitely Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, good if you're going to go into consulting. Um, if you're gonna go into consulting, you don't need to know Excel as much. Just know the basics, really. But if you're gonna go into anything else, corporate finance, private equity, financial planning and analysis, then yes, Excel is really important more than PowerPoint. And if your school offers any finance classes and accounting classes, take those. Learn some formulas. Some of the basic formulas that I would recommend for you to learn is gonna be the financial formulas. Is three of those: the income statement, balance sheet, and then I think it's statement of retained earnings, if I'm remembering that correctly. Um, is learn those learn the accounting equation. I think it's assets, something like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna be quoted wrong on this video here, but learn the accounting equation when it comes to finance. Understand the different aspects of finance, like what is corporate finance, what is how do you value a company, things like that. Um, Next one here is do you need to be good at advanced function and calculus in high school to do good in finance and university? So I'll tell you this. I went to a state university, University of Texas at San Antonio. I only had to take one math class in college. One math class. It was a combination of algebra and calculus. Half algebra, half calculus. That's the only math class I had to take. But you do have to have a mind that's capable of solving problems, because you do have to take stats classes, statistics, right? Those are the classes that kind of like are related to kind of like calculus in a certain way. So yes, you don't need to be a math genius. My worst subject is math, right? Yeah, I'm terrible at that. I'm good at everything else, but math, I can't do it. I cannot. You know, my lowest grade was always in math. So you don't need to be a math genius, as long as you are someone who's capable of understanding. If you know that this is the formula, this is how I can apply it to this, great. But then you also got to realize that once you go into finance, like the actual real life finance, you don't need to know these formulas, because we have tools that do these things for us. So that's why you saw me. That's why earlier in the video, or in this podcast live stream, I mentioned that one of the biggest skills you can learn in finance is to learn how to learn, right? Most of the times you're going to go to a company, they're going to say, hey, to calculate losses or potential losses, we use this software called Credit Manager. Customers enter their, uh, their balances, and then it records how they spend their money and where they spent it, and then we're gonna be able to capture the losses by clicking this button and converting it to this, right? You don't have to know the formula. Of course, it's good to understand how things work, which is why you need to be able to understand the formulas to begin with while you're in college. But once you go to real life, you don't need to know how to memorize the formula, because it's things that do it for you. Think about Microsoft Excel. There's built-in formulas in there that solve problems for you. You don't have to manually do it. You don't have to take a pen and paper and try to remember what formula you learned in high school in order to solve that problem. Of course, you need to understand what the software is doing, because someone is going to ask you a question. So how is it, especially when you get to a management level, we have interns or entry level analysts? So how does it know this? You got to be able to explain that. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that yes, you got to be someone who is able to critically think about how to solve problem. You have problem solving skills, but you don't have to memorize these formulas once you go into the real world. But if you're in college, of course, you got to memorize the formulas for the exams. I know I had to do the same. I used to memorize formulas all night before my finance exams. But you don't need to be a genius or remember every single formula, because once you start working, it's going to be software that does it for you. Your job is to make it make sense, right? The software spits out the answer, and you explain the answer to whoever needs the answer, or you make the answer make sense to people that don't fully understand uh, what uh, what you're talking about. Let's see here. All right, so let's see here. Next one here is all right. I was going to go for a diploma in financial planning or business finance in college, but I also found an advanced diploma for financial services that's available. What would you recommend? So you said financial planning or business finance. So I would definitely not recommend you going into financial services, because this is gonna be sector specific, right? So in finance, you have a bunch of different sectors, right? The finance industry has a bunch of sectors. You have insurance, you have, it's a bunch of different sectors in it. So if you major into a sector, that is really gonna limit your we're talking about people applying to just one little sector or industry. It's going to limit the places that you can work at, or how you transition from place to place. So I definitely recommend you going into, let me bring this back up again so I can reference it. So I'll recommend anything in financial planning, because you can work as a financial analyst. You can work as a FP&A, which is financial planning and analysis position. There's a lot of those in a lot of companies. Business finance, which is just like finance in general. With this is my favorite, business finance, like just in general. Business finance, which is what I majored in. I had a bachelor's of business administration in finance. It allows you to work. I started off in insurance. I was working in the back office of an insurance company as a financial analyst, and I went on to work as I did a staff accountant. I also did what is it? Now I'm in consulting, risk management, and I was doing regulatory compliance. I did financial transformation for a bunch of banks and consulting. But yeah, so if you're able to just do finance, because if you're a business finance major, you're required to take accounting classes, you're required to take statistics classes, you're required to take these operations classes, management classes, which fall under business finance, right? So this allows you to have, these, little one-off skills that a lot of people don't have. So if you just go straight into something that's like a financial services degree, it's going to teach you financial services. You're not going to have the ability to learn accounting, management, statistics, um, operations. You're not going to be able to learn those things. So I would say the more broad you get just in finance itself, like just a business, bachelor's of business and finance or associates in finance, that allows you to learn other skills that you can, kind of like pivot off of. Let's say you're gonna be like, oh, I don't really like working as a financial analyst. I want to be a staff accountant. You go work as a staff accountant. Why don't I want to do this? I want to work as an operational analyst. You do operations. You could do that. But if you just focus on financial services, that's what you're limited to. Or financial planning, You cannot work as accounting a staff accountant with a financial planning degree or associate's degree. You don't look like the perfect candidate, right? But yeah, so that's my take on that. Of course, anything can happen. Really, you don't have to do business finance, but it makes things definitely makes things a lot easier. Um, Someone said, "How do you get high marks on university exams?" So this is gonna come to this. I'll give you an example of myself here. Um, I think I showed you guys my transcript before from university. Maybe I'll make a video on it. I made straight C's because I already knew where I was gonna go into, and I had an internship every semester of college. So I had more work experience than any college student that you could think of at my university. So I knew that was gonna back me off. But if you trying to get high grades, high marks in college, you have to memorize. You got to realize that a lot of these schools, they want you to memorize things, right? Especially in finance, there's a lot of formulas in finance, a lot of formulas, right? You can start with corporate finance. There's formulas in there, like equity versus debt financing of a business. There's a lot of things, and you go into investments, right? Stocks themselves have a lot of formulas. Hey, what is the PE ratio? What is the how do you calculate the dividend? Like, what is this? What is that? What is the payout ratio? These are formulas that you have to memorize for each exam. So you got to be able to memorize these formulas, right? That's why the education system doesn't really teach you how to do the job. It just teaches you, how to memorize these things. So if your goal is to get really high grades, it's gonna be you have to memorize those things. But then outside of memorizing things, what I used to do outside of memorize things for an exam, I should go outside of school, go on YouTube, maybe purchase a course on what's the website called, Udemy. On let's say I was learning corporate finance, uh, you know maybe how to restructure debt and things like that. I would go on Udemy, purchase a course on that, and I would learn it at my own pace. Maybe in the summertime when I finish my internship, go home, learn that. Now I'm learning to understand, not to memorize, because a lot of people graduate from college and they're like, uh, bro, I didn't learn anything. I don't remember anything I learned in college because I was just trying to memorize, and now the memory is gone. I don't know what I learned. No idea, right? Because that's what you have to do to pass the exams. But once you pass the exam, maybe it's the summertime, or maybe it's you have some free time. Try to learn to understand. Like, I used to go on YouTube, I would look up. There's like this videos on YouTube. I forget the name of the guy. He teaches finance from start to finish in, like, I think it's like a 5 hour video. I used to watch that over and over and over again. Then I would go into these one-off topics, and I would learn how to do that. How to calculate, how to do the dividend discount model, which is really big in finance. How to do things like that. How to how to value a stock. Is it undervalued, overvalued? I should do that, because when I was in class, I was trying to memorize in order to get a high grade. So if your goal is to get a high grade, high mark in class, it's going to be to memorize, 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 memorize. That's what's going to help you get a high grade. I wasn't interested in that. That's why I was made C's in all my exams. That was good enough to pass, and also for me to be able to take time from class to actually understand, how to do those things, how those things apply to the real life. Um, let's see here. I have no idea how money and taxes and credit work. Where do I start? I'll start on YouTube, really. One of the things I like to do is I would go on Udemy, like I mentioned them. They're not sponsoring this. I wish they would sponsor this. But I'll look for a course on one things I did. I'll look at course on taxes in America, right? Or taxes in, if you live in America, your state. Texas, and I live in Texas, so taxes in Texas. And there's a course. And one of the things that Udemy does, it shows you the topics within the course, right? Without even paying for the course yet. You just click on the course, it shows you the topics that the course is going to cover. So what I would do, I would take those course titles that they're going to cover, and I'll look it up on YouTube, right? Let's say let's say the first lesson in the course says tax deductions for individuals. I would copy that, go on YouTube, search tax deductions for individuals, and I watch all the videos on that topic, take notes, and I go to the next lesson on that course. Of course, you're looking for a highly rated course that everyone is liking. There's a bunch of students in it, good reviews on it. You just copy those titles, like, or those things that they're going to cover in the course, because you can look at those for free without paying for the course. You look it up on YouTube and you learn, right? So if you want to learn about anything really, and you don't know where to start, or what thing to look up on YouTube, just look for a course that allows you to look at the things that they're going to cover, and look those things up on YouTube. And that's how I started learning about finance. I was learning about literally anything. Like back in the day, when you're younger, you just want to learn as much as you can. That was me. I was learning as much as I can. I would go home from high school. Like, I would get home at I think around like 6 or 5. I think we used to leave school at 5 or 6. When I got out of school, go straight to the laptop. Those are the days I first got a laptop. I'll be there until bedtime, until like 11. And I could go to sleep at 11. 12 was pushing. I had to go to bed by 12. But I was on the computer researching, watching videos, taking notes. I have books of notes that I took when I was in high school, because I was just so interested in learning these things. And one of the best ways that I learned about learning a new subject that you don't know what to search for is find a course online. Udemy does a good job of letting you preview the course, look at the things that they're going to cover, and you look those titles up on YouTube and watch them for free, or you find other people that teach them for free. The good thing about YouTube is you have so many people that teach the same thing but in different ways. So if this person is teaching it in a way that I don't fully understand, then I'm gonna switch to the next person that's gonna teach it in a different way. But yeah, let's see here. Yeah, but it's really good to understand money, taxes, and credit, especially credit. You need to understand that. Maybe I'll make a video on my favorite credit cards. I have a bunch of credit cards. Let's see here. Next one is what do finance books teach you? So this depends on what books you're talking about. If you're talking about college textbooks, then those are gonna teach you, the core foundations of finance, right? This goes back to saying that what you learn in college is not what you're gonna do at work, right? College does a great job is at teaching you the basics, the foundation, right? So you take a corporate finance class, it teaches you, um, you know, it teaches you the corporate, the things that you need to understand, how to fund a business. Can you do it through equity? Can you do it through debt financing? It teaches you how to allocate funding. Once you receive that funding, how do you allocate it? Do you allocate it towards new projects, or do you allocate it towards this? And it also teaches you what to do with the revenue. Do you pay dividends to investors, or do you reinvest into the business, and what areas you need to reinvest into? So those are things that it teaches you, like the general idea. But when it comes to real life, it's not going to be as perfect as what's in the textbook. Things go crazy. They go all types of ways in the real life, because there's external factors that are affecting things, right? So let's say your company is trying to secure debt financing from investors, and then your company has a scandal. Investors are trying to they're trying to pull out of the deal. Then that's a whole different external factor that is affecting, your financing. But that is not what you learn in college. You just learn that investors want to give you money to invest into your business, and they expect a return on equity, right? So yeah, so textbooks do a great job at teaching you perfect scenarios, but that's not really how it works in if you go to in real life. It's not how it works. But it's good to understand those basics, because you are going to have a starting point. You're not going to be, like, absent minded when people are talking about these things in a meeting at work. Um, but other books, I read a lot of finance books. Investing books. I read The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, I believe. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. All those books are more, they put things into perspective, right? They're not textbooks. They're not trying to fit a curriculum for university. They're just people that are writing about their experiences in finance and different subject areas in finance. So those are the one books I recommend reading. Really, I did a video on, you know why you need to read books. If you check out my channel, I did the video on that. Those definitely help you a lot more if you want to understand about how finance works in real life. Um, Thoughts on fintech? I think this is a really really good industry that is impacting finance as a whole. I think it's going to help a lot of people that work in finance. If you guys have heard of people that work in investment banking, they got to work crazy hours, 80-hour weeks. And one of the things that a lot of people don't really realize in finance is, it's a simple process in finance. you know any job really in finance is a financial analyst or investment banker, wealth management, whatever you're doing. You have to gather the data. That's the first thing. That process takes a long time, right? Let's say this is the problem here. The problem is over here. In order to solve the problem, you can't just start here and try to solve the problem. You have to gather enough data in order to give you, to make a data driven decision. So gathering the data, you have to be able to figure out, what are my sources of data? Where can I get the data? Where can I, maybe you're requesting the data from different departments within a company, or maybe you're having to generate the data yourself, right? Now you have the data. Now, if data is coming from different, parts of the company, different sources, you know, you have to make the data into one format that is, that makes sense for the entire thing, right? So if this data looks this way, this data looks this way, you have to make it uniform in order to make sense of it, right? So that's what do you call it? Like restructuring the data, or what do they call it? What is the term? Reformatting the data in order for it to be uniform, right? That process takes a long time as well, a long time, right? Especially if you have data that is so different. So once you do that, now you have to make the data make sense. Maybe you're doing VLOOKUPs, maybe you're doing H lookups, maybe you're doing pivot tables, maybe you're doing now once you do that, at that point, now you have the data that makes sense. You can easily compare maybe the data sets and things like that. Now the job is to make it make sense, right? Oh, based on this number, it looks like this is what's happening here, and this is how we can compare to this. You do like variance analysis, maybe you're doing reconciliation and things like that. So that is a process that takes a long time in those jobs, right? Now the easiest part is going to be the decision making, right? If you're a decision maker, you're going to look at the data. Okay, based on the data that this analyst gave me, this is clearly the answer. This business line is more profitable than this one based on the data, right? So they make data driven decisions. That's the easiest part, making the decision, because you already have the data that is telling you the results, right? So you can make a data driven decision. So um, the biggest part in finance is getting to the point to where someone can make a data driven decision. So fintech, what fintech has done in finance is simplify that process. Or what it's doing, it hasn't fully done it yet. I hope that they get more advanced and that they have more tools. They have the capability to do that work, the data gathering, right? They already have software that does that data gathering. They need software that does the reformatting, right? Now, what I do when I was a financial analyst, I was building, models that will reformat the data. So let's say I got a data that is, let's say, for example, for lack of a better example, in CSV format, and I want it in Excel format, right? I have an Excel form that's gonna convert the data into how I want the output to be, right? It has formulas in there and it converts it to how I want it to be. But imagine if we had fintech or AI that was able to do that. You just tell it, hey, this, I want the data to grab this column, this column, this column. But it's not just advanced enough in finance in order to make those decisions, because data comes in it comes, in so many formats that is just damn near impossible to account for every format that you have to reformat into a uniform thing. But I think fintech is really good for finance. It's really going to benefit us in finance. And at the end of the day, in finance, since it's about projecting the future, right? Use past data in order to project the future. Um, it's gonna need an analyst to look over that data, because I don't think any company is gonna trust a machine to 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 uh to uh to produce their expected earnings. The EPS, to have an expected EPS for them. They need a human to overlook that to see if it's accurate. So I think fintech is. I know a lot of people fear that fintech is going to take over finance. Definitely not going to happen. We can even look into the area of finance that has really been affected with fintech, which is financial advising. Look at the robo advisors. These apps that you can download, they teach you how to save money, how to invest money. You even have I think it's this. I don't know if it's still an app right now, but it was an app 2 years ago. Acorns. It was an app that allowed you to link your credit card or debit card, right? And then if you spent $1 and 80 cents, it will round it up to the nearest dollar. It'd be $2, so it'd be a 20 cents different, and it would invest that 20 cents into a fund that you picked. Right, you could pick aggressive, middle, or not aggressive, and you would invest into a fund. Right, doing that. So when you have fintech technology like that, finance technology like that, that allows people to just invest without even thinking about it. Imagine what that's going to do to the financial advising industry, right? If you have robo advisors that don't even tell you anything, all they do is give you, there's like apps that you can, you text it and it tells you, how to save money. You even have budgeting apps. You have apps that I was using. This app is called I think it's called Front or something like that, where you can link your portfolio, and it tells you how risky your portfolio is, or each stock is, and it gives you the news on the stock every day, and it tells you what's happening in the economy. It tells you the earnings, like expected earnings. And you also have like even these apps that I do a lot of. I have a dividend portfolio on this channel that I'm building right now. I use this website called the Dividend Tracker, and I might have a link on the description, but it's called the Dividend Tracker, and it tracks all my dividends, and it tells me what my dividend monthly income is going to be, annual income is going to be, what I need to buy more of in order to reach this target if I want this income. So imagine what that's going to do to the financial advising industry, right? Which I never liked to begin with, but that's just me though. But yeah, so fintech is definitely destroyed, if not already, is going to destroy the financial advising industry, because the easiest fintech to produce is something that gives people advice on how to save money, how to cut their expenses. They even have software that teaches you how to cut down on your bills. Right, if you have subscriptions that you probably don't even remember. Right, this is something a financial advisor will tell you. Well, I don't know where money's going. Well, what are your subscriptions? And you're like, well, I have this, but I don't know. Well, let's find out. You have software that can detect that through your card. If your card pays out to somewhere, or we just detected this subscription, do you still want this subscription? Just like that. Yeah. But yeah, so fintech is really a good thing when it comes to all areas of finance, I think, except for financial advising, because that is where it's dominant. Um, but yeah, next one here is gonna be so a business finance diploma and the financial planning certificate would be a good choice. Oh yeah, definitely. That's a really good choice. When it comes to the certificate, it's gonna be something that you really want to focus on, right? Because a certificate is something that's like specific, right? If you go get a CPA, that's specific to accounting, a CFA specific to finance. So if you get a financial planning certificate, that's specific to that. So you better make sure that you're going to use it. You're going to work in as a financial planning and analysis analyst, if you're going to get that. But yeah, that is a solid example. I usually recommend people getting certificates right after they work in an industry, and they're like, they try different positions. They're like, oh, this is what I want to do, and in order to advance my career, let me go grab this certificate, because that's going to make me more attractive to promote over other people that don't have it. Um, so, does finance major make you understand Bitcoin, crypto, NFT, or avoiding taxes? So, for now, one of the things you have to realize about college is that college is always behind, right? Look at even if you're in college or high school, look at the year that the textbook you use. Maybe you're taking a history class, math class, science class. Look at look at the year that your textbook was made. It's probably made 5, 10 years ago, right? So for finance majors, if you're gonna be a finance major in college, you're not gonna learn about Bitcoin really to that extent of what's happening in this day and age. You're not gonna be able to do that because textbooks are always behind. So you have to, if you want to understand Bitcoin, you have you have to um you have to go outside of school to learn, maybe on YouTube or maybe get a course online or something like that. But you're not going to be able to learn this in your textbooks because school textbooks are always like 5, 10 years behind. Like, maybe some are like maybe 3 years behind, but they're never going to be, they don't publish a textbook every year that you're in school in order to capture what's happening. So they're always going to be lagging behind, which is why, I made a video on marketing. I said, hey, if you're a marketing major, you're probably not learning the best marketing skills that actually work in 2022, 2023. You're not, because what they're teaching you is some things that worked 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago. That's what they're teaching you, and nobody using that is using that in this day and age. Um, but yeah, a finance major is not going to teach you that well when it comes to Bitcoin, crypto, NFTs, avoiding taxes. Of course, if you're an accounting major, you can take courses on tax. You can do tax accounting, right? There's a class called that. If you are accounting major and you go all the way to the high level accounting classes, there's a class called tax accounting, right? Where you learn about taxes, because that's what most accountants do. Or some of them, they do taxes. So I guess you could learn how to avoid taxes by learning how to do your taxes through that. But finance is not really gonna teach you much about Bitcoin, crypto, and avoiding taxes. But maybe in the future, maybe in 5, 10 years from now, they're gonna cover that because crypto has been a huge part of the financial system. Within the past couple of years, maybe they'll cover that in the next books that are published for universities. Um, see, what else do we have here? I see here. Now finance have a concentration called fintech. Yeah, definitely, definitely. So yeah, so some universities, just like how Elijah said here, uh, they're not gonna have a whole major on blockchain, but they'll have a concentration that you can pick. So you could be a finance major, then you can concentrate on blockchain technology, right? But it's not gonna be you're not gonna be able to learn, just like you'd learn in something that's established as corporate finance. So when I majored in finance, I my concentration was corporate finance. That's what I and there's a lot of data on corporate finance. It's been around forever, right? But if you look at blockchain technology, it's only been popularized within the past couple of years where everyone has been able to recognize it. That's why universities now offer things like that, like a focus on concentration on blockchain technology on some of these things. This is how they kind of like combat their textbooks being behind by a couple of years behind. Um, Next one is I'm taking Essentials of FinTech next semester and Computer Applications in Finance. This semester, I'm taking Fundamentals of Corporate Finance. Yeah, I remember all of these classes. I never took any FinTech class in college because it just wasn't around when I was in college, when I graduated, or when I was taking those classes. It just wasn't that, it wasn't like the thing that, everyone was hyped about. But I did take a Computer Applications, and some of the things I learned were all of the Microsoft applications like Excel, Word, Access. What was the other one? I forget. But all of the Microsoft applications, those were pretty much what they covered. Especially Microsoft Excel was the biggest part of the semester. And I took corporate finance 1 and 2 as well. Is this live? Yes, it's live. Yeah, this is live. This has been going on for what? An hour? I was gonna do this for 30 minutes, but yeah, so if anybody has any other last questions here, I'll probably go live again tomorrow. If you guys have any other questions in here, let's see here. I will add some questions here that came in the past. I just answer a few of these, and let's see here if I can add some of this. That, no, add that. All right, so this was a question from Sharon from 8 days ago. How long do you recommend staying at the first two internships? So if you're doing an internship, usually it's gonna be for for the summer or whatever semester you're in. They're never like long term, right? Long term is like you returning next semester or next school year or something like that. So I'll just do it if it's in the summer, then I'll just do it in the summer, and then I'll do another one. What I did in college was my first year in college. I was a freshman. I worked in the library at the university, and then that summer, I went to work for the city doing an accounting internship. And then when the school started, I went back to the library. And after that, I went to work as a resident assistant. And after that, I went to do an account in was it another accounting internship. And then I think I did a financial analyst, a bunch of things. But just do it for as long that duration. It might be 3 months for the summer, or maybe maybe a little more, a little less, depending on that duration. So there's really no time frame because you can't really control that. If the internship is just for the summer, you're not gonna be able to stay longer than that, right? Unless you return next summer. Let's see here. Sean, how difficult is the computer application class? I think it's pretty easy. If you're someone who is capable of learning new software pretty quickly, that's great. I think one of the the hardest things that mine was online, so that made it a lot easier. But the harder class is going to be Microsoft Excel because it has it's an application that has formulas built into it where you can even do your customized formulas and build your own formulas in there. Even build your own models. There is financial models that run JP Morgan that make predictions on whether JP Morgan should do this deal or not that are built in Microsoft Excel. So I think the hardest part is going to be Microsoft Excel. PowerPoint is pretty easy. Word is easy. Microsoft Access maybe a little hard, but it's not that easy. It's usually used to run databases and things like that. Um, but yeah, Excel is probably going to be the hardest thing if you don't really you're going to learn a lot of new things in Excel. Like, oh, I didn't know I was capable of doing this. What else here? Next one is do you need to know Python coding for finance major? So you don't really need to know Python coding unless you're gonna go into anything tech related. We can talk about fintech, right? You need to know coding, obviously. That's gonna be a plus for that. But just for finance, general finance, if you're gonna go into corporate finance and investment banking, things like that, just knowing Microsoft Excel is good enough. In PowerPoint, pretty good. I'm assuming that everyone knows how to use Microsoft Word because we've all been using this. um, but yeah, Excel top thing. But if you're gonna go into fintech, then yes, it's gonna be attractive to have Python on your resume. It's gonna be attractive to have what is it? What is it? What's this database language? I forget. Let me look it up. I'm forgetting. Uh, oh, SQL, SQL. SQL is really important too if you're gonna go into finance. So these programming languages are good for positions that are data driven, right? So it's almost like a data analyst or data scientist, but with a mixture of finance. So if you have the finance background and you're able to understand data and able to manipulate the data using Python and SQL and other data related languages, then yes, you're at a super advantage, right? So if you're in finance, you want to go into jobs that are mainly dealing with data, like a data analyst, data scientist, then yes, Python is going to help you. These are usually fintech jobs. Most fintech companies actually gather customer data, right? So they need to be able to like understand that data, to reformat that data, you know, put that, grab that from the database, pass it onto this. Then you got to use SQL, you got to use Python and other languages as well in order to manipulate that data. Um, Next one is will an MBA kind of degree uh, will an MBA degree guarantee 100K a year salary? You got to have some work experience in order to get into that because there's some undergraduate students that go to investment banking that make $120,000 a year starting off, or 100 starting off. Like that's your base. That's not even counting the bonus. So if if you already work at a job and you know that you're doing your MBA in order to get a bigger raise or a higher promotion, which comes with a raise, then yes, definitely it's gonna guarantee you that, but in general, but in general, an MBA is gonna help boost your salary, but that's based if you're already working within a company and you already know your track. You already know that my next promotion is gonna be this, and in order to compete with this, I need to get my MBA or a certificate in this. That's what's gonna make me more attractive to being promoted over these other people. Uh, should I picked to take computer applications over financial policies? I think that's the fundamentals of corporate finance too at my school. Um, I mean, yeah, as long as you take corporate finance one, you're gonna be good. Because corporate finance is gonna be things that you're never gonna use really. It just helps you understand how a company acquires funding and how they allocate that funding and how they, uh, you know, use their retained earnings. Do they give out to shareholders or do they reinvest back into the project? So yeah, so I would definitely say that the computer applications class is more important because it's more technical skills than just theory, right? When it comes to financial policies or corporate finance, it's just theories. Like, companies raise funding this way. Now you know. What do you do with it? Nothing. You just know it, right? So if you go work at a corporate company, they're talking about, oh, we need debt financing, or maybe we need to go public so we can raise equity by selling shares of our stock. That's how we're gonna raise equity. We don't need any debt. We're gonna sell equity. You're gonna be able to understand that conversation, right? So this allows you to do that corporate finance, but technical skills are gonna be what sells you off, right? Technical skills, like, you can't just come up with technical skills. You have to know them. You have to learn those technical skills. Um, Next one is R and Python. They teach in data programming. Yes, definitely R. R is a really good data programming language as well. Really good for building graphs and visuals and things like that. Definitely R is good in Python. Um, Next one is how should I get into finance if I already graduated with a degree in biology? I did 1 year of medical school already. So honestly, if you want to get into finance, I would maybe get a certificate in financial planning, or you can go get your MBA. So you can go to back to school, get your MBA in and then focus in finance. You could do that. Or you can just get a certification, right? And you can find something that you like to do in finance, get a certification in that. There's certifications for financial analysts. There's certifications for data analysts. Um, but yeah, I would do that. What was your GPA in college? If you don't mind me sharing, I already did. It was a 2.6. That's how I graduated in college with a 2.6 GPA. I needed, I believe I had a 2.4. Then I was about to graduate, and I needed a 2.5 to graduate. And I was so close to graduation. I stayed up all night just to make an A on one exam. I mean, I was capable of making A's. I just didn't value memorizing. I just actually wanted to learn. So which kind of like set me back on exams. I'm not a good exam taker. But yeah, I graduated with a 2.6 or 2.7. I think I showed it before on one of the videos that I've made. It was a 2.6 or 7, I think. It's probably really low actually to compared to where I ended up in life now. This is 3 years later. Management level finance. Um, Big Four consulting, finance, risk management. I'm leaving that. I'm going to industry at a management level. So, it turned out pretty well. I would say I had a plan. What is your salary now? I don't think I can disclose that. Can I? I can tell you that it is six figures now at this point over the past 3 years. I don't know if I can disclose the amount without getting sued, or I don't know. I don't know what might happen. Is finance just glorified Excel monkey? Definitely it is. It is. It is. So, the biggest financial institutions run on Excel. Excel is like the thing that's holding finance really. It's like the foundation of finance really at Microsoft Excel. That's what it is. You go to any company, that any finance department in any company, Excel is going to be the thing they use. People are going to be bragging about the formulas they know. Like, I've had people brag about formulas, but me, I'm a person that's always willing to learn. So I'm like, instead of like being jealous, and I'm like, actually, can you teach me that? And then I end up on top because I take knowledge from everyone. But yeah, definitely it is a glorified Excel monkey. Definitely. Um, Favorite teacher or teachers recommend from UTSA. Oh, you go to UTSA. I like Professor Sweet for finance. If you go to UTSA, shout out to Professor Sweet, one of the best teachers ever that has actually worked in finance, a genius, a finance genius. Professor Sweet, best professor ever. Like, you go anywhere, he's a professor. The ones you find at the Ivy League school, that's him. He's at UTSA. So take any of his classes if you go to UTSA. I have taken risk management. I took risk management from him. I know my brother went to UTSA as well. He took I think it was insurance policies from him, insurance class from him. He's a genius, like an absolute genius. Like, he's the guy. If you go to UTSA, that's him. That's the professor you need to take. He has a lot of classes too that you can. You don't have to take just one class from him. You can take a bunch of classes from him for your electives. He's a genius professor. That's gonna. He's a professor that has worked in the real world, right? He's been a genius in the real world. He's saved companies in the real world. So learning from him is like just learning from the source. That was one of my that is my favorite professor in college. Not to say the other professors were bad. I like the other professors, but Professor Sweet was one of the best professors. Oh, the best, actually, not one of the best professors that I've ever had. Next one is, thanks for answering all my questions. I'm sure in the future I'll have a few more for you. Oh, for sure, yeah. I'm gonna do these live streams. This is also gonna be on Spotify. I'll put the link underneath. I think I'll publish this on my channel, but I'll put the link underneath this, and well, maybe I don't know, but it's gonna be on Spotify. What else here? What about the SIE exam? Is a good exam to take for someone with non-finance degree? I'm not really familiar with the SIE exam. I'm not really familiar with that. So yeah, what certificates are you talking about? Can you explain more about that? So there's a bunch of certificates you could get in finance. You can get a financial analyst certificate, financial planning and analysis. Um, Let me see if I can show you guys here. Nah, I don't think I can do that. But you can look these up from. Let me see. The website is called. Uh, you can go to. This is the most program that is accepted, or the with a bunch of. I mean, you can find a bunch of programs online. My favorite one is what's it called? Okay, let's see here. So CFA is no, that one. Never mind. Not that one. Not that one. It's Corporate Finance Institute. I'll put the link in the chat here so you guys can know here. This is not sponsored by them, by the way. Definitely not sponsored. But this is the certifications that are accepted in most industries in finance right here. Put that in the chat right there. Go check that out. Browse their courses. They have they focus on finance. Um, but yeah, check them out. Really good place to get certifications from. They could be a little pricey. They're not free. They could be a little pricey. But that's up to you. Uh, what area of Africa are you from? What do your parents do? I'm from Zimbabwe, which is right above South Africa. I came here when I was in middle school. Um, my parents work in. Dad is a professor. Mom is a software engineer. Uh, how did you get your first job if you graduated the 2.0 like this? Did you get any internships? Yes, I did have about 6, 7 internships when I was in college. So that's why my GPA was low. It wasn't low because I was being lazy. I was working, I was doing internships. So every semester I had an internship. I had a job every semester, which I used as internships. I when I did my resume, I said these are internships. Sometimes they were part-time jobs as a as a finance assistant. When I made my resume, I said I worked as a finance assistant intern. Right? But yeah, so my GPA was not low because I was lazy. It was low because I was doing internships the whole time because I understood that it is the work experience that's gonna put you above everyone else, right? But yeah, so I have a video on all my internships. If you look on my channel, there's a video that explains all the internships that I did in college. Um, uh, Were you trying for investment banking? No, definitely not. I've had a lot of friends. I was in a business fraternity where we had a lot of brothers that went that route. I was in the what is it, the investment club, finance investment club. A lot of people aim for investment banking, and you could see just the hours you're working. That was not something I was trying to do. So I never aimed for it. I never had the GPA for it. I never applied. I went, even my concentration area was corporate finance, not investment banking or stocks or anything like that. It was corporate finance. That was my strength. So I never tried to do anything outside of that. What are your thoughts on financial age training? I'm not really familiar with that. Do you think I should do law school or go back to school for finance? That's gonna be up to you, really. If you are really passionate about law, then yes, I'll go to law school. Uh, but if you want to do, if you think finance is something that's right for you, you're always gonna have a job in finance, and you can work in any industry in finance. Think about every company has a finance department. Every company you can think of, even that law firm that you're gonna work for, they have a finance department, right? So that's why, like I'm a huge proponent for finance. I don't really know much about law school. I just know it's long as hell and expensive. But yeah, what else do we have here? If you were to be honest, did your first job provide a good salary? How old were you at the time? Yes, it was good because I was just coming out of college. So in college, when you do internships, they usually pay you an hourly wage, right? Maybe you getting paid 15 an hour, 20 an hour, 25 an hour in internship. Now you go to your first job, they pay you a salary that is like maybe $50,000 a year, right? Which is in the grand scheme of things. Now I look back on that, I'm like, that was so little. But at the time, it was a lot of money. I just graduated from college. I have my first apartment. I have a roommate. I don't even have to pay the full rent. I have maybe a car payment because I need a car now, insurance. Those are all my bills, and you're getting paid, 45 to $50,000 a year starting salary, right? Like, what do you? It's a lot of money for someone that just graduated from college. But then, as you move up in your career, you go into, you start to progress, being promoted, start to make more and more and more money. You look back on that, you're like, well, that was little money. That it's only because you're comparing it to where you're at right now. But at the time, that was a lot of money back in 2020. I graduated in 2020 when COVID starts. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say COVID in on the air. But I don't know if they're gonna block this video or something. But when that thing happened, uh, I had a job. When most people were losing their jobs, or they were quitting their jobs, I had a job. So yes, it was. It was great. Even though I was able to progress really fast from that starting salary to a really good amount of money. Um, that starting salary was really good because you go from making an hourly wage in college because you cannot work full-time in college when you're undergrad to making, well, this is how much you make per year, so you're guaranteed this check every 2 weeks or every twice a month or something like that. um what job pays the best? uh, that's a difficult question. But one of the things that I always tell people, because I have friends that try to find jobs that, that like, oh, I want to work a job that's gonna pay me a lot of money. That's the only job I'm gonna take. My thing is, like, in finance, we all start at the same level, which is the analyst level. Analyst, you do all the data crunching, all the for the lack of a better term, the crap work. You do all the PowerPoints. If you're in consulting, you do all the data gathering, you do all the data reformatting, all of that. You do all the technical work, which is hard work. Sometimes got to be more than you can handle. Now, so you got all these investment bankers, entry level, quitting because it's a lot of work, a lot of work. But then I'll give it. I was gonna make a video on this. Give it 3 to 4 years. In 3 to 4 years, you're gonna be in a decision maker position. I was able to get to that in 2 years. When you become a decision maker, you don't do all the technical work. You don't. Your job is to deal with people. You have analysts beneath you now, or you supervise. Not that they're lower than you, but like analysts that you supervise, and they come to you with questions. You don't have to do the work; they're doing the work. You tell them what to do. You help them if they have any questions. So your goal should be to get to the level of decision making. Because as soon as you get to a decision maker level, then you don't have to do the work, but then you're gonna get paid more for doing less work, right? But the person that's underneath, that's an analyst, they don't get paid a lot of money compared to a decision maker. So your goal should be to get to a decision maker, but you're not gonna be able to get to a decision maker who gets paid a lot of money by not doing any hard work. If you're an analyst, you're gonna do a lot of freaking work. All the technical work, you're gonna do that. Um, let's see here. Why did you leave accounting and go toward finance? So when I was in accounting for the first year and a half, I went to intern at the city, and in the accounting department, they were just getting off of busy season. It was busy as hell for the first 2 weeks. That's when I got there. After that, busy season is over. They're just chilling all day, doing data entry, bookkeeping stuff. Um, I was just at first I was so excited, just learning new things. But then I was like, do I really want to do this? Because maybe it was because I was around during the season when they weren't busy. You show up to the office, chill, file some papers, review some, bookkeeping stuff, post things in the SAP system that they were using at the city. I was like, I don't want to do this the whole life. I don't wanna That's why I was like, I'm gonna switch to finance because finance is more interactive. It's more like unpredictable. Things just happen. Things just happen. Let's say you're trying to sell equity in the company. You have this person that wants to buy equity, and then they're like, no, like I don't want to buy it anymore. Now you got to go find other investors and things like that. So it's more exciting than for me. Finance was is more exciting than accounting. Even post college, when I graduated, I worked as a staff accountant for a couple of months. Like within the company I was working at, I was like, I want to try the staff accountant position. So I tried it, and it was still something that I was still doing my finance stuff, but I was doing a little bit of staff accountant stuff. And it's just still something that I didn't enjoy. Like I enjoyed more of my finance work when I was building, models to like, maybe they were like, projection models and things like that. I enjoyed that more than doing the accounting work, like posting things in the ledger. Like, oh my God. In accounting, you have to be very accurate in accounting because accounting, you're using things that actually happened. You have to be very accurate. Think about the balance sheet. Everything has to balance at the end of the whole thing. If you miss one thing over here, it's gonna mess up the entire thing, right? But in finance, you have to be as accurate as you can be, right? Using the data that's in the past, be as accurate as you can be. So yeah, so finance gives you that room of error, the error of margin, the margin of error, where you can mess up, but you're like, my projections are a little off. We can tweak this number to make them, But in accounting, if you mess up, probably going to jail. It's gonna look like you're cooking the books. It's gonna look like you're trying to hide something. Imagine you put an extra zero on five on what is it on $500,000. Now it's $5 million. Come on now. Yeah, yeah. This is not something that I wanted to deal with. This one is your dad the finance professor? No, definitely not a finance professor. I'm the only one in finance in my family. Well, my brother's in finance now, but the high level finance. Uh, Internships are still required 3.0. How did you get yours with a 2.6, 2.8? So if you're looking at internships, right? If you look at internship programs, I was mentioning this at the beginning of the video. If you go to the JP Morgan, all these high level internships, they're going to have a GPA requirement. And it's not because they think you're smart because you have high GPA. It's just to root out other people, right? Because it's competitive. And a lot of people apply for those internships. Trust me. So I've worked recruiting for the Big Four. I've volunteered to recruit for Big Four, and I see those applications come in. One of the easiest way to screen those applications and delete a bunch of other ones is to look at the GPA or 4.0. That deletes about maybe 40% of the applications deleted. And then they're going to, I made a video on this too. Go into my video about how to outsmart applicant tracking systems. I have a video on that. Then we'll look for keywords. The system looks for keywords, deletes about 50% of the resumes, right? So how did I get my internship with a I started off with the 4.0 I said when I was in college, but then as I realized that I need to get more internship, it started to drop. But so the easiest solution is don't target internships that require you to have a 3.0 GPA. One of the things I did, there's a video on this too on my channel. There's a lot of videos on my channel, but one of the videos that I did mention that one of the things I was doing was to apply for part-time jobs, right? There was a part-time jobs for a financial analyst, which was for 2 months in the summer, right? Seasonal financial analyst job. I went and did that. And then when I put it on my resume, it was a financial analyst internship, which is true because I was learning. They wanted an entry level financial analyst, seasonal, someone that I was going to be able to learn and assist the VP of finance, right? That's what I was doing. When I put that on my resume, it was an internship because I was actually learning on the job. And I had a job as an accounting coordinator. That was a seasonal job it was in the fall of one of the semesters in college. This was my junior year in college. I did that job for the fall, and then they extended it to the next semester. I did that as well, and then it ended. When I put it on my resume, that was an accounting internship, right? Because I was learning on the job. I was learning from the CPA, the certified public accountant, and I was just assisting them. So I was learning. So I put that as a resume. So those are part-time seasonal jobs that don't require you to have you know, GPA. They don't even look for a GPA. They're looking for someone with a high school diploma for the most part, right? Someone maybe some college. This and then when you put it on your resume, it's an internship. That's how it passes. It's an internship. You're learning at the job, right? But yeah, so that's how I was able to get a lot of internships because they weren't even official internship programs. I've only had one official internship program when I was in college, but most of them were part-time jobs, seasonal, like financial analyst, accountant. Um, I did one, two is a financial analyst, one is a financial assistant, one is an accountant, one is accounting coordinator, which I put it as accounting. It's all internship because you're learning. They understand that you're someone who has to learn on the job. Because if you look at those job descriptions, I also made a video on how to look for internships with a low GPA. If you look on my channel, you'll find it. Um, those are jobs that they are targeting people that didn't go to college, but you can go learn a thing or two because you're not even done with college if you're looking for internships. So you can go learn a lot. I learned a lot of things during those jobs. um Someone said, why didn't you ask your parents for money? I don't know. I don't know. I just thought I could do it I never felt the need to because I've always had a job. I think it's one thing to ask for money from your parents, but at the same time, it's one thing to make that money on your own, to go out there and work really hard. I've always been a person that loves to learn. That also works hard is hard too. So, earlier in the video, I was talking about how I was coming from high school and I would get home around 6 p.m. I'll eat my dinner and then I'll go straight to the computer. I would just start learning how to program in Java, how to build websites using HTML and CSS and JavaScript. I became really good at that when my high school implemented that students had to learn computer programming, the language that they wanted to teach students was Java. I was the person that was teaching the teacher. The teacher was asking me, how do we build a function in Java? I was out there in the front, like this that I've always been that type of person, right? And that also translates to working all these internships. I was learning different things. I've worked at a startup company that had 7 employees, right? And I was underneath the CPA. They were teaching me high level things, what it takes to run a business in terms of accounting. I worked for as a financial analyst for the VP of finance for a global company for the US division. I was his assistant. I was in his office. He was, showing me how insurance policies work, how they translate to revenue and things like that, premiums and claims and things like that. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I guess that goes to why I didn't ask for money, because I'm someone who is always wanting to learn, and learning sometimes requires you to go learn from the best, and learn from the best requires you to go work for the best. When you work for the best, and if you are open to learning, they will teach you, because most people want to teach. Uh, how were your high school grades and what was your SAT score? Yeah, I don't even remember, to be honest. I was actually really smart in high school. I had really high grades in high school, but I had a really low SAT scores. I'm a terrible test taker. I'm horrible at taking exams. I think it was like we had the old scale. I think the old scale was 2100, something like that. I think I had like a 1300 out of a 2100. I guess it's above average. I don't know. But yeah, I had a 1300. I think the scale, I know right now was different. It went down to like, I forget what the new scale is, but when I was in college, I think it was around 2100, and I had a 1300. So not a good score. Yeah. How did you deal with bonehead manager? One of the things is, if you have a manager like that, you gotta let them have their way. Of course, like, don't let them violate you. But most people in authority positions, right? Sometimes you have people that are, they get into these positions and they want to show you that they have power, right? The worst thing you could do is, try to show them that they don't have power. Like they don't have the power, because they're gonna try to impose that power on you. You just gotta give in. Of course, don't be like, don't give in all the way to where it's like you're like miserable or something like that. But sometimes, you just gotta show them a good side. Your manager's like, he's like, do this work, like, you're like, yes sir, or yes ma'am. Sometimes they're gonna be like, okay, maybe I don't need to do this. They're gonna feel bad on their own for the most part. But I've never had that experience, because I've, most managers they turn into bonehead managers when you have, I'm gonna go on a little rant here. So you have these 4.0 students that graduate from college. They go to a company, right? So when you go to a company, your GPA does not matter. It might have helped you get in, but nobody thinks you're that smart. Nobody. You're an entry level employee, and you're gonna go through the same training and learning process as someone like me that had a 2.8. Same. We're all on the same level at this point. What I've noticed is most people that have 4.0 GPAs, they like to show that they're smart. And when you try to be smarter than the manager is going to do everything they can to show you that you're not that smart. The people that do that are usually the people that have those high GPAs. I've seen it. I've been in a manager position where, where I had analysts that, you know, come from, Ivy League schools. They want to remind you, I graduated from here with this GPA. Like, it doesn't matter. You're here with this person from not an Ivy League school that had less of a GPA, right? So yeah. So most managers aren't like that. It's based on how you project yourself. If you're one of those people, stop. Don't do it. Be a person that wants to learn, that's willing to learn. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't be a smart ass. Be like, oh, I know how to do this. I know how to, like, no, 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 no. Don't do it. Uh what is my LinkedIn? I try not to give that out because it has my work, like where I work. Maybe after I leave consulting in a couple weeks, I will put it out. You guys can add me on it. Um, are you a day trader? Did you learn how to trade stocks for your personal account? Yes, I've tried day trading. Don't like it that much. I lost a lot of money doing that. Um, Definitely wouldn't recommend doing that for anyone unless you're just trying to learn stocks and lose some money. Then do it. I tried doing that. I'm a dividend investor. I invest in value companies that have been around for years, that have been paying dividend for years. That includes dividend kings and dividend aristocrats. That's my investment strategy. I think I recently made a video on that on my dividend portfolio that I just started. I think it has about $7 or $8,000 in it. I think when I made the video, I'm gonna make an updated video pretty soon on that. Um, but yeah, I trade stocks. I'm not a stockbroker. And at the same time, if you work in business consulting for one of the big four, you're not gonna be allowed to purchase all the stocks that you want because of independence rules. You have access to information that a lot of people do not have. So that's why I've stayed away from day trading because I just can't purchase companies stocks from any company. I have to get it approved and things like that because of independence rules and things like that. Let's see. I'll answer a few more here, and then let's see. How challenging is it to get into investment banking? It's very hard to get into investment banking. It's going to be a lot easier if you go to a target school. If you're not able to go to a target school, you go to, let's say, you go to a regular state university. You want to go into investment banking. Doesn't hurt to apply. Apply for it. You don't get in, then I'll go into a master's degree program that is at a target school. It's a lot easier to get into the master's degree program at a target school than undergraduate degree. So do that, or one of the I have a few people that went to a state university that work in investment banking right now. One of the things they did was they went to the conferences and programs that these investment banks have. So if you go to the JP Morgan website, you're going to see that they might have the summer externship, or they have like these weird names, and if you participate in those every year, and then in the summer you apply for the internship. I'm like, oh, this person is participating in this. You get the internship. Once you get the internship, just do well in the internship, and then they're gonna invite you for maybe the next year again, and then full time employment eventually. So if you go to a state school, your options are be involved within the investment bank. Look at the conferences they have. Go over there. Make sure that you network with people, and then you apply for the internship. Or if you graduate from undergrad state school, then go to a master's degree program at a target school, and then you go from there into investment banking. Or if you have the ability to go to target school, just go to a target school. That's the easiest way. uh, you're the goat. Follow me on Instagram. My username is goat nash. uh, what kind of professors you date? What didn't they force you to become a doctor, lawyer, engineer? I mean, they've always let me, always let me make the best decisions that I think are good decisions. So, um, shout out to them for that, for letting me make my own decisions. I went into accounting initially because of my mother. She was an accounting teacher back in the days. Uh, so I want to go into accounting because that's all she talked about. And I was like, I want to go into accounting too. But then I realized it's not something I wanted to do, so I want to switch over to finance. Um, do you really think being black helped your application due to affirmative action? What are your thoughts on affirmative action? No, that's a really good question. I wanted to make a video on this, but I didn't know if YouTube would take the video down or something like that. But this is a really, really good question that you know I don't know how to answer this the right way, but I've always maybe I don't know, to be like, I have no idea, because all the companies I've worked at, even when I was interning, I was usually the only black person there, and I was young too. I used to be really skinny, so I was like the kid that's in there. But was I talented? Yes. Like in terms of finance, like I do my homework, I do my research. I'm really good at what I do. So my could I have benefited from that? Probably. I couldn't doubt it. One time I was on the management website for a company. I was the only black person on there. Maybe it was that, or maybe it was, but one of the things that the company did was they made sure that I knew that I was intelligent even before I got to that level. They're like, think you could really rise up to this level, and these are some of the things that you need to improve on, do that, and I end up at that level. So you know I don't, maybe I might have, maybe I haven't. I don't know. I don't know. I know that it's also, you know said to be a disadvantage if you have an African name. I have an African name, full name. Nash Theo is just my initials. Theo is my middle name, and Nash is part of my first name, which is Nyasha. So Nash Theo is my middle name. I don't put my last name on here, but yeah. But I don't know. Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. From what I have seen, I don't think I have. But you don't know, right? You don't know how how you're promoted over other people. But uh, maybe I have. But what are my thoughts on it? Uh, I mean, I think that I think this can be a whole entire video, that I probably have to make. But I think that yes, while it like it allows for maybe equality, but does it really bring the best people for the job? Think about yourself as someone who's running a company, right? What is the purpose of a company or a business? Is to make money, right? And how do you maximize profit? Right? To make profit or revenue or net income, I guess, or however much you're netting. But how do you maximize that? You only maximize that through hiring the people that are gonna allow the company or drive the company in that direction. So if you're hiring based on how people look, not their skills, just how they look, then are you really maximizing profit? Are you really doing what's best for your business? Probably not. I mean that's how I look at things. I'm an analytical person that looks at numbers. I'm a person that looks at data. I'm a financial analyst through and through. I've always been a financial analyst, so I look at these things in this direction. But then there's also the social part of it, which which is hard to look into if you're someone who's as analytical as me. I look at data, right? If I'm running a company, I've been in a position where I was running an entire department, right? The job, the management was like, we need these numbers. These are our projected numbers, and you gotta hit these numbers. So are you gonna hire someone who's capable of hitting those numbers, or someone based on how they look who might not be capable of hitting those numbers, right? So, I mean, I think it's a complicated issue, but to be quite frank, I think it's stupid. Those are just my takes. Those are just my takes. Please don't cancel me. But I think it's stupid. I think every business is in the business of making money. That's how the business pays employees. That is how the business pays taxes. That is how the business functions. They pay for operations. So if they're not capable of maximizing revenue, then how are they going to be able to hire more people, which is going to stimulate the economy? They got to be able to do that. In order to do that, it starts with hiring people that are able to perform, right? People that have a track record of performing, people that are willing to work. Now, if you hire somebody through affirmative action that is capable of working, then that's great. That's really good. But for the most part, if you're just hiring based on how people look, then I don't think that is the right direction to go. Simply because sometimes you're just hiring people because they look a certain way, but they're not those performers you're looking for in order to improve your business. So you're probably holding your business back. But yeah, so I can also understand how that can be a requirement for government jobs. It might be state or city or federal. I can see that because they don't. If you think about the public sector, they don't really do that much work in public sector. But if you go to the private sector, it's a lot of work in the private sector. It's performance based. That's why you get performance bonuses in the private sector. Go to the private sector, performance bonuses. How did you perform? And your bonus is gonna reflect that, right? But yeah, that's my take on that. Maybe not a little too. Please don't cancel me, but but that's my take on it. Maybe I might have benefited from it. Probably, I don't know. But all I know is I work really hard and I'm very talented when it comes to finance. Um, if you put me in a room of a bunch of other analysts, I'm gonna come out on top. That's just the nature of who I am. I'm the person to know that this is what we're doing tomorrow at work. I'll go home, I stay up all night learning that. So when I go to the meeting, I'm the person with the answers. But yeah, let's see. I'll answer a few more here and then we'll end this. I'm gonna come back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central, and then we can answer some of these questions. Um, This one here, what sort of training did you get at your job? Can you get a finance job without finance background who came from a completely different major like biology? Oh yeah, definitely. You know, so when it comes to finance jobs, most people don't really know how to do the finance jobs. Even if you have a finance major, if you majored in finance, got a finance degree, when you go on the job, you're gonna learn from zero because every company does things differently, right? So college is only gonna help you understand the the kind of like the big idea of finance, the big picture of finance. That's what college is going to help you do. But when it comes to the day to day things you're going to be doing in finance, you're not going to learn that in college. When you go to a job, start from zero. They teach you how to, this is how we want you to do it. That's why, we're talking about bonehead managers. When you have those 4.0 people that think they know everything, they go to a job and the company's like, oh, this is how we do, this is how you're supposed to, like, oh, but in college I learned this. The manager's gonna be a bonehead to you because you think you're smarter than what they've been doing for the past decade, and they've been making $10 million a year, right, as a company. But yeah, so yes, most people do get into finance with no background in finance. Maybe they have a bachelor's degree in science or something like that. I know someone that had the education. My first year as an analyst, someone came from an education degree, worked as a financial analyst, entry level. You know, but yeah, you don't have to be, like a finance major or something like that just to do that. Uh, what skill is important to develop outside of college to be prepared for finance career after graduating? I'll say networking, really, because one thing I've noticed is a lot of financial analysts, just like me, I'm an introvert. I don't really like, talking to people. Not my biggest thing, even though now I've gotten out of that phase or that kind of mindset. But it's gonna be talking to people. Go to networking events. Just talk to random people. Talk to people. At the same time, as a financial analyst, if you work in the finance, entry level is gonna be analyst. You're gonna be doing all the data work. Um, you're gonna have you're gonna have what is it? You're gonna have what was I talking about? I'm forgetting now. Oh yeah. So you're gonna have a skill that a lot of financial analysts don't have if you learn how to talk to people and network. Because most financial analysts, they just deal with data, dealing with data. And one of the one of the things you have to do is you move up the ranks, right? There's analyst one, analyst two. That point, maybe the manager is asking, hey, what does this data mean? You got to be able to communicate that. You have to be able to communicate that. So being able to communicate that is really important. And so I would say communication skills or networking skills. Networking is going to allow you to network with the decision makers. That's going to help you. I'll tell you that because I already said I'm leaving consulting, Big Four consulting, and I never had to do an interview. All I did was text one of the people I've networked with in the past who was a VP at some company. I just got the job just like that. I didn't have to do an interview. But that's through networking. Right? You have to network, be able to communicate with people. That goes for your day to day work. You might have people ask you questions. You might have a manager ask, "Where did you find these numbers?" Be able to communicate that clearly. Be able to do that. Um, let's do a few more here. You can follow up with this one. I do not think hiring people through affirmative action is holding people back. It's just all the things being equal. If you're hiring someone to keep the quota in line, yeah, I definitely agree with that. Oh yeah, definitely agree with that. If you're trying to keep it quota, then yes, yeah, that's a problem because you end up hiring the people that aren't right for the job. Um, Someone said, "What's a good website to apply for entry level jobs?" I think I've made a video on that. If you look on the channel, there's a video. I like using Glassdoor. Indeed is a pretty good one, but I think it's flooded with scams and things like that. But I like Glassdoor. I like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably my top favorite. LinkedIn is my because you can customize. I think I made a video on LinkedIn too, how to apply for jobs in LinkedIn, which is pretty easy. You can really customize what you're looking for, and that can really help you. Um, this one here will do the last one or one of the last ones, which is are you gonna go to investment banking in the future? Definitely not. No, 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 not doing that. I'm just leaving. I'm just about to leave consulting now. Yes, I would definitely not do like upgrade to investment banking. People usually come from investment banking, they go to consulting to kind of ease things off. They're like, consulting sucks, and then they go to industry. Uh, but yeah, definitely not thinking about going to investment banking. Probably never going to do that. Um, but if you want to go into investment banking, I mean, it's not a bad deal if as long as you're able to keep up with those long hours of work. It should be fine. A lot of people usually quit within 2 years or less than 2 to 3 years. A lot of people quit that I've seen my age, people that graduated maybe 2 years before me, a year before me, with me, a year after me. They usually quit within a year or two, because it's like a glorified position in finance where you feel like in order to make it in finance, you need to go into investment banking. No, you don't. Of course, it's gonna give you the quick starting salary, but if you go into a field that you actually like in finance and you grow within that field, you're gonna end up at the same salary, as investment banking eventually. If you work hard enough and smart enough as well, you're gonna be able to end up in the same position. But yeah, I think that is pretty much it for this stream slash podcast. I think this is gonna be on Spotify as well as probably gonna leave it on the channel as well. Um, but yeah, let's see here. All right, so thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and check out the other videos that are on here. Most of the things that I talked about in this stream, there's specific videos on those things. If you browse through the YouTube channel, there's a bunch of videos that cover those topics specifically. If you have any questions, you can leave them under any of my videos. I look at the comments all the time, and I make videos based on those comments as well. But yeah, talk to you guys later. And I hope you guys have a good night or good day wherever.